It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity.
Good evening, model citizens. I'm going to say it a couple times tonight. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't follow what I'm doing. I'm going to show you what I'm doing, but if you do what I'm doing and it doesn't work, you can't blame me because I don't know what I'm doing. And I warned you up front, so we'll get into it as we go, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. And maybe we'll get somewhere. Bernard from Mini Prince pointing out my shirt. I'm wearing my Around the Layout podcast shirt. There are some really good podcasts out there. This is one of them that I've been listening to. The Crossing Gates, another really good podcast I'm listening to. Second Section podcast is actually on at 9 o'clock tonight, right after my show. So lots of good stuff out there. Yes, my lawyers have informed me that I had to read the statement, and Cameron's correct. I'll tell you, the biggest thing that I've learned is if you talk to 10 people, you'll get 15 different suggestions on how to do things in JMRI. So it's going to be interesting. Oh, there you go. TSG's also got his podcast. I believe the first Saturday of the month, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of the Saturdays. I think it's the first. Might be the last. I'm sure he'll correct me eventually, but who knows? Exactly, Mr. Mini Prince, by watching this video, you agree to hold Heath harmless for all legal damages. Yes, my lawyer said to read this. No, it's... Oh, Andrew, did you really just ask me that? I mean, come on. I really don't think that you had to ask me that. I think you probably already know the answers. Yeah, it is very likely we will experience some damages tonight, or at least some things that don't agree. Why is it? So is every Fred Wild saying I thought we were supposed to blame Heath. Otter Creek says I thought we were supposed to blame Heath. Apparently I need to get into my disclaimer just a little bit more often. We'll see how it goes. Tonight, watching the show so far, if you said hello, hopefully you'll pop up in my list and I'll be able to say hello. I do thank everyone for being here, but let's get to the list. First at the top of the list, because he's got a space in front of his channel name, we've got Andy from Este, Panday Project, Bernard C's in the house, Cameron from Caboose 121, Cascade, Southern Model Trains is here, CP's Whiskey Creek and N Scale, Don Heads here, Fred Wild, Jeff the Railroad Enthusiast, John Arthur's in the house, John Benicki, Railserve John is joining us as well, Ian from the Lehigh River Subdivision. If you have not seen, I know a lot of people don't like shorts, but go watch Lehigh River Subdivision's short video that he just put out and tell me if you don't feel the same way walking around a trade store. And you can go check it out right now. It's just a short, so go bring it up in the background, come back when you're done, and let's talk about it. We've got Lynn McCurdy in the High Desert Modular Model Railroad Club, Bernard from Mini Prince, Andrew from Mr. McTovid, Norm Miller's in the house, Dennis from Otter Creek, and Rio Grande is probably pointing out something that I am doing wrong. We got Bill from Ozark, Midland, and Southern Railway, Ron Mullins here, Roy Eltham's in the house, who I kept calling Ray the other day for some unknown reason, Thomas the Split Rock, I don't know why I added the. There's no the, but he's here. We got the CNNW Mondavi line, Paul Scott August in the house. Thomas Grassi is here. John from TSG Multimedia actually showing up at the beginning of a stream instead of the last 2 minutes. We got Stephen from Wigwag Workshop and Sherry from the Fantasy Trains rounding out the list. Hopefully keeping us all on our best behavior tonight. Speaking of best behavior, we got Mr. Pictovid with the $5 super chat for the Humanity Fund. Thank you so much, Mr. Pictovid. So the question is, what are we going to be talking about tonight? I'm going to talk a little bit about JMRI Ops. I did a video on the Switchlist app a couple videos ago. It was interesting. It was pretty simple. I think I could probably get it to work, but as a lot of people here may know, the more complicated something is, the more interested in it I am. And if there is one thing that model railroaders can agree on, is that JMRI lends itself to being very complicated. I'll go through some of the stuff that I set up. We'll talk about how I set it up. I haven't actually run any trains yet. It's all just been in my head. It's all just been planning it out. I watched a bunch of JMRI videos, and I gotta tell you, every single one of them told you to do something different. So, we'll step through it. I'm actually really curious. I definitely put in the chat, like if you do something different than I'm doing it, definitely put it in the chat, because I am really curious. I'd like to learn. There are some things that I haven't figured out yet that, doesn't do what I want it to do. Dennis from Otter Creek says he doesn't think the ops is very difficult. I'm probably overthinking it. That's probably part of it. But maybe Dennis will just be able to throw some magic out, and it'll all go well. Cameron from Caboose 121 is pointing out how much longer did I stay working on it last night. We've been hanging out at in Discord, talking about JMRI for I think the last 3 nights. And last night there were a couple things that I was like racking my brain about, and we solved some of them. Cameron actually left. Roy was still there, but we did solve a few of them. I don't know if you thought about this, but it's possible, maybe even likely, that you are seeing videos that are not telling you the right way. Remember that anyone with a phone can publish a video. That is true. That is very true. I think it's okay that there are many opinions out there, and I do find there are some people where the video quality might be lacking that actually do know what they're talking about, and then there are other videos that, you know, we'll see about it. So should we just jump right into it? I don't have an unboxing. I've got a whole bunch of stuff, but I don't have an unboxing per se. I've been using my Rerailer a lot though. But let's just jump into it because why not? Why not? I don't know of a better way, but I open up Panel Pro to get to Operations Pro, and if there's another way to do it, I don't know what it is. But I will say I watched a playlist from Jason the Train Freak. He did a pretty good job breaking down a lot of this stuff. It's a fairly basic series of videos, but it got me to a good place that I was able to confuse the heck out of myself. And I realized if I'm going to put the little thing that pops up at the top there, I probably need to not have my face up in this corner anymore. But we'll fix that later. So first thing, setup. So what I did, I named it Riverside Transfer because that's what I'm calling the layout as well as one of the areas on my layout. I decided my trains would just travel north-south. They would not travel east-west. I showed this the other night. Kind of gives you a little bit of a sense what I'm doing here. The actual layout you can see here is the U shape down at the bottom, but I unwrapped it. So north side is Croton Harmon Yard, south side is going to be Manhattanville, and that's kind of the layout there. So that's a little bit what I'm doing. So north-south, no east-west travel to make my life easy. Maximum train length, I put at 480. How did I get to the number 480? A little bit of it was trial and error. A little bit of it was I decided that my perfect length of trains was about 8 boxcars. And if you take 8 40-foot boxcars at 44 feet each, plus you add the length of an SD70 Ace at 72 feet each, whatever that comes up to. I don't know if John from Schuylkill River Valley is here and doing math, but whatever that adds up to, it kind of worked out that 480, it's been working pretty well. I've changed that number like 600 times already, but that's what we're sticking with. Max loco per trains, I put 2. But can you run 40 boxcars that are 8 feet long? Yes. No. So 320 plus 152 would be 472. So 472 for 8 40-foot boxcars and an SD70 Ace. Maximum train length 480. That's how we got there. 2 locos per train. I don't know that I will ever need a second loco to pull a train, but I set it at that. 1 horsepower per ton switch time. I don't really know what this means. I don't really understand it. SD70 Ace is 72 feet, apparently. Have you thought about maybe using an earlier diesel? Yes. The reason I use this SD70 Ace is because I've got the 1943 Spirit of the Union. I've got the 111 Power to the People. I've got the Thank you, Essential Workers 4404. I like those locomotives a lot, and I just want to run them. I do have right here next to me an SD40-2 that is shorter. I've got a GP30 right here. So I do have some other locomotives as well, but I like the pretty colors of the SD70 Ace Heritage units and the special paint jobs, so I'm sort of planning it around that. So switch time in minutes, if you hover over it long enough, something will pop up and it'll tell you what it is. I forget where I have to hover. I don't really understand. I don't think this makes a difference because I'm not using a fast clock, right? So I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about travel time either, really. So we're going to skip those. Car types, I've been using descriptive, not AAR codes, because I don't know the AAR codes. Unit of measurement, feet. Optional year modeled. I know, Bernard, right? This layout, there is no year to it, really. I run what I like. It's my layout, and that's just the way it is. Steve Childers, another good one to check out. It's got some good JMRI videos out there, and he's been helping me out as well. So some of these, well, I just checked them all. Add operations to menu to, add operations menu to main menu. Basically, it pops it up here, and you can't see it because my head's in the way. Let me, there we go. All right. So the operations menu is up here now, so you can get to it here. When you first click this, you will have to restart Panel Pro to get the operations menu up there, but you have no idea. See, if anybody missed my disclaimer, go back to the beginning of the video. I had a huge disclaimer. Trackside Mike said Thomas Grassi is also good with JMRI. There's a groups.io page that's got some fantastic people with JMRI. If you get stuck, the great thing about JMRI is there's tons of people out there. You know, you can talk to most of the developers because it's all open source, and they're constantly updating it. I'm actually using... this is 5.17 blah, 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 which is actually the release that came out on December 2nd, I think, or something like that. So they're constantly updating stuff. Close Windows on save. Don't know how I feel about that one yet. Auto save, auto backup. So far, I haven't gotten burned by that. The rest of this down here, I don't know what this means. Enable icon set XY, append loco. No, I don't know what any of this means. I don't really care. I'm going on. So that's my settings window. Now if we come up here, if we go to locations, this was one of those windows that I went back and forth on. Originally entered everything incorrectly. Came back and changed everything. I've changed the length of the track 600 times because, you know, I measured them and it gave me a certain dimension for the length of the tracks, but then I actually was able to put, you know, more stuff on it, so I made things fit. I kind of worked it out. So let's just step through a little bit what I'm doing, and I can just sort of explain what I'm doing. And again, disclaimer, this is what I'm doing. If you follow what I'm doing and something doesn't work, Dennis says that's a lot of locations for a beginner. So here's my problem. I've got a whole story in my head about how I want the layout to run. So what I've been doing with the locations in particular is I've been trying to figure out, how do I create the locations to stuff my story into it and have it work out the way I want it to. I don't know that any of it's going to work. There are 6 on layout locations, and then there are 2 off layout locations. Let's go through the off layout locations first. So off the layout, I've got 2 main off the layout locations. I've got the bench, which means a locomotive or a piece of rolling stock is on the bench and something's wrong with it. And then the other thing that I'm going to do, oh, what did the bot have the night off? Which bot's not working? Yes, Fred makes a good point. As long as you have your scale selected correctly, you can just put in 11 with the quote, the double quote, single quote at the end of it for inches, and it'll convert it to feet. So that's how I got in the basics of it. So my one off the layout location is the bench and storage. So I have here like shelf 1002, shelf 1004. What I'm going to go and do is anything that is off the layout, that's not on the layout, that's up on a shelf, will have a spot on the shelf. And the reason it'll have a spot on the shelf is because what I want to be able to do is know where stuff is. But that brings me to the second location that is off layout. And the second location that's off layout, I'm calling my swap track. And this was an idea from Jason, the train freak, when we were talking about stuff. And what the swap tracks are, I don't know what's up with this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I messed this one up. So let's fix it. So this should be swap 5. Swap 5. And with a length of 520. And we'll save that. So what my swap tracks are my swap tracks are tracks that exactly match my staging yard. So what's going to happen is I am going to the way I have my staging yard set up is whatever train is in the staging yard, it's going to pull out of the staging yard exactly as it is in the staging yard. So the way to switch up trains in the staging yard is I am going to create a route that will go from the staging yard track 1 to the swap track 1. So if I want to swap out the trains that are in my staging yard, I can just run the train, build the train thing. And we'll get to the build the train thing in a little bit. But I'll get to the build the train thing, and I can swap in different cars. So that's how I'm going to get different cars on and off the layout through here. And I just realized I'm actually missing some swap tracks. Does anyone want to guess what swap tracks I'm missing? Yeah, I don't know why I came up with it. So what I'm actually doing is what the numbers mean, the 02, the 04. They're going to be inches. So I bought a stick-on tape measure, and it's an 8-foot shelf, so 96 inches. So I'm just going to stick the tape measure on there. So it'll just say like 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever. And that way I know if I put something, in shelf 1, location 8, that it's 8 inches into shelf location 1. This is exactly correct. That's what I forgot, were the float swaps. So I need to add swaps for the float. So let's look at how I'm going to do that. So I'm trying to find a spot to put this. So I've got the car float here. So what's interesting is I put the car float in as C/I. So what that really means is I should really switch these to staging tracks, not to classification interchange tracks. This is a longer conversation, spurs, yards, classification, interchange, or staging only. It's how JMRI kind of interacts with the track. Spurs are essentially industries. Yard tracks are essentially holding areas. Classification and interchange are where things are classified in interchange. And then staging only basically means that whatever's in there, it's going to come off however it goes in. There you go. I set up a location for my storage doors just like the swaps. There you go. That's what I'm going to do. So my staging yard and my car float, I guess, would be called a the fiddle yard. So Stephen, the bridge is the part that would go up over the transfer part, and then the car float is the part. The car float would be the part that the cars go on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert these here to staging tracks. And this took me a little while to figure out. So you come over here under tools. There's a lot of little tricks in the trade over here under tools that I'm just learning about and just figuring it out. So Otter Creek, I thought about using out of service, but the reason I'm not using out of service is because it doesn't tell me where it is. Is it out of service in storage, or is it out of service on my bench because it's not working? And if something is out of service and I want to swap it onto the layout, how would I swap it onto the layout? Like there's no, it's like you kind of have to manually do it. So this is a little bit of a way to kind of, figure things out. So we're going to go here to tools, change track type. This is now going to change all of the track types from what they are to staging. You click save, and I don't know why that went away. Usually it doesn't go away, but here they're now all staging. So it worked. My car float, I don't want any locomotives on the car float, so I've unchecked all the car floats. The reason I brought this up is because I needed the length. So we're gonna make some more swap tracks. Add what should I call this swap track? Bueller. We'll just call it swap float 1. Swap float 1. And length is 186. When I hit add is when all this other stuff's going to pop up here, and I can get rid of all of my locomotives so we don't have locomotives on it. Track accepts all roads. We can potentially change that later. Load options, so far that's fine. All the rest of this for now is going to be fine. So we want to save that one, and so now we got swap float 1, and we'll add a swap float 2 that is also 186. We'll add that. We'll get rid of all of the locomotives and stuff. We'll save that. So now we've got now I've got swap tracks for all of the staging tracks in my Croton Harmon upstate yard, and I've got my 2 tracks for my swap float. Fred Wild says, using spurs for the staging is fine when you have tabletop staging, but if staging is unassailable, it's better to make it as staging and set them to swap loads. My staging yard, my main staging yard over here, is kind of blocked by my desk a little bit, so it's not the easiest to swap stuff. And the car float as well is going to be something that comes off and goes back, so it'll just be easier to make it kind of an official official swap thing. SD Panda says, swap float 1 seems like instructions to change the car float to another barge. At some point, I may have more than one barge. Not sure how long that's going to last for, but yeah. If you don't know, Sidetrack Sunday, next Sunday night at 8 p.m., we're doing a Christmas show. All of the Sidetrack Sunday people are going to be up. The reason I highlighted his name is it'll be over on Ray's channel. So if you're not subscribed to Ray and you want to see completely just... Anyway, go check it out. Tim says, when I did the staging, it wouldn't take a train at all, so I just made them spurs. I will probably tweak that later. So we can talk about that. I had some problems with that as well. Because staging is staging, you need to set things up in JMRI so that the correct size train is coming in and out of staging. And because of how there's so many variables, I mean, you've got all these different track lengths leading to all these other different track lengths, things can get a little bit confusing. So when I hit save location, if you notice, everything closes because that's how I set it up. Yes, and that right. So if you have your staging yard set as only staging, it is going to pull out a complete track of cars. So if you have 8 cars, but you don't have 8 spots somewhere out on your layout, you'll have problems. Whereas if you have it set as a spur, it'll pull out 3 out of the 8 cars if you only have 3 spots for it to go to. So that's kind of the spurs, yard tracks, and classification interchange are a little more flexible in that way, I guess you can say. So let's go back here. So we talked about, I'm trying to make this smaller. Why won't it? There we go. Nope, it won't let me. So we talked about off the layouts, my storage. Swap track is to swap things in and out of my 2 staging areas. Croton Harmon Yard is my 1 staging area. It's over here. Actually, I can do this. I can move this over here and I can show you the yard. Maybe. Let's see. There we go. Let's do that. So there's that right there. That's Croton Harmon Yard. There's 6 tracks. I got 4 tracks of trains on there right now. You can see the SD70 Ace Conrail right here in the front. 2 SD70 Aces. That switcher probably will not pull all of those cars. It might. It might not. I just put it there just for testing purposes. Croton Harmon Yard number 2. I originally had yard number 2 at 450 feet, but to get that SD40-2 in there, I needed to extend it to 460, and it fits perfectly. So that's kind of the... Isn't that what I said? Didn't I say SD42? I don't know what I said. To get the SD42 in there, I had to extend it by a little bit, and it fits. But that's part of the tweaking and the going back and forth and all of that nonsense. So that's Croton Harmon. Sleepy Hollow is a little bit different. I've got 2 spurs, and the 2 spurs are my 2 industries. So I got Bailey Quality Toothpicks, and I realize it helps if I show my screen. It's got Bailey Quality Toothpicks, which if you were here the other day, you would have seen there's Bailey Quality Toothpicks. And in honor of Jason the Train Freak, we've got 2 cotton belt cars out front of that guy. We also have a Domino sugar that is going to go over here. And I am talking to Nick from PTF Designs about creating a background flat here. And this car is not showing up very well, but that is a Domino sugar car, that white car there. So along the back here, we'll have a little background flat that will be Domino sugar. Yeah, this SD40-2 is pretty nice. It's a BLI, it runs pretty well, and it's Conrail, so, you know, looks pretty darn good. The fancy thing that I did here is, I don't know that it's fancy. It's not really fancy. If you notice, there's another track right here. So what I've called that is I've made it a classification. No, what did I do? I made it a yard track. So it's a holding track, and I've made it an alternate track for the Domino sugar. So if the train tries to bring 5 boxcars to Domino sugar, well, Domino sugar can only take 4 boxcars. So what it'll do is it'll then overflow, and it'll put the other car on this yard track. I made this yard track 75 feet because then it'll take a 40-foot boxcar, a 50-foot boxcar, a 52-foot boxcar, a 60-foot car, but it won't take like an 83-foot passenger car. And it's actually long enough to put like 3 cars on there, but I want to leave it open because I may need it to get the boxcars out of quality toothpicks. As you can see, I've thought about this a lot, right? So alternate track, Domino yards. If you're wondering how to create something as an alternate track, you need to open it, open up the spur track, then you come over to this tool window, and there's a little thing here that says alternate track, and you just select the track that you want for your alternate track, and then when you come back into here, it'll show you Domino sugar, alternate track, and then in the yard track here it'll say yes. So pick on human time. Oh, great. So Tim, if you don't have alternate track set up, it probably won't. It's all a part of it. Dennis, we're getting there. I'll get there. I've got till 9 o'clock. I'm watching the time. I don't know that I can get there. So Cameron was one of the people we were, playing around, figuring it out. Thumbs up. Playing around, figuring things up, and troubleshooting a lot of stuff. And I've been voraciously figuring this out. Okay, so that's that. Riverside transfer. I've got the freight terminal and the car float. The freight terminal are my 3 classification interchange tracks, as well as a yard track, which is where the locomotive will sit. One of the other things that I haven't done yet is I want to set it up so that if I try and put too many train cars into this area, that it'll dump them back into the main yard. But for right now, I haven't done that. So Riverside Freight Terminal set up as a classification interchange, and then the car float is set up as staging. So whatever gets pushed into it, that's what JMRI is going to want to pull right back off of it. But we'll figure that out. We'll figure out if that's right. We'll skip Human City Junction for a second. We'll just go to Manhattanville. And you can have multiple location windows open, which has been helpful when I've been troubleshooting stuff, to just kind of open them up and type things in and figure stuff out. So Manhattanville. Manhattanville is an area in New York City. It's now what we call Harlem. Back in the day, there were some pretty cool buildings up there. So we've got Tiemanns Paint and Dye, the Mink building, and Lynn McCurdy is going to make me a packing building because a lot of people said they wanted to see a packaging facility, and Lynn volunteered to build it for me, so we're going to get that taken care of as well. Fred said you could also have 2 spurs in JMRI that are 1 track on the layout. Yes. You can... You're talking about where you take 1 track and you split it up half and half? Or are you talking about where it's 1 track with 2, like literally 2 spurs on top of each other? So the other thing I have here, you'll see the Mink building. The Mink building track, I've also got set up as an alternate track, and let me just show this really quick here, so it'll make more sense. So the Mink building I'm having here on this one, the alternate track for the Mink building is over here. Yeah, I haven't gotten to track pools yet. 1 track, 2 or more locations. So I may need to use that here, right? Because I want to have this and this be sort of 2 separate tracks, but a part of the same track. I haven't figured out track pools yet. Haven't gotten that far. I'm still at the basics stage. So we got three industries over in Manhattanville. Last but not least, and this was, I have redone the tracks in this thing about 8 times now, moving things around. I still don't know what I want these tracks to be. The spurs, the tracks that I have set up at spurs are my 3 locomotive tracks. Okay, 1 track with 2 industries where each industry is set as a spur. Got it. Currently, I don't have any tracks that have 2 industries on them. That might change. Yes, this is, Dennis, this is the basic version. We will get to the more complicated version. So the spurs are my 3 locomotive tracks and my RIP tracks. The way I did it is, or the way I'm going to do it, is locomotive track 1 is going to be the main track for the locomotive engine yard. If that track is full, it'll dump the trains over to track 3. Track 3 is going to be the track that is outside the building. So track 1 and track 2 will be inside the building, track 3 will be outside the building. So last resort, put the locomotive outside. Yard tracks. My yard tracks are, let me this guy up. So these tracks over on this side here are my yard tracks. So spur tracks, yard tracks here. So this is where things are going to be holding stuff. And then my interchange tracks are going to be my arrival track and 3 departure tracks. So what's going to happen, the way this, it doesn't work like this right now, I haven't quite got it set up, but what's going to happen, the train's going to pull out of staging. The train's going to pull in to my arrival track, which you notice it's only 240 feet and my train is 480. So I've got a little bit of a problem there, but I'll figure that out. We'll figure out how to deal with that. They'll probably flow over into the departure tracks. So train will come out of staging, it'll go into the arrival track. Once it's in the arrival track, it'll get dropped off. That train will pick up a load of boxcars that are leaving and bring that back to staging. Then my switchers that are working the yard will then take the cars off the classification tracks and put them on the yard tracks and rebuild the next train that's going to leave and put it back on the destination tracks. As you can see, my departure tracks are big enough to hold 1 train, but my arrival track's not big enough to hold the full train. So I'm not exactly... That was a good one, Happy Valley Hobbies. I like that. I like that. Yeah, Ruby on Rails. If people don't know, Ruby on Rails is a I don't want to say it's a basic programming language, but it's a programming language that's fairly accessible to people. But anyway, so this is this is the most confusing area. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but this is where we're at right now with this. So the next two things that I'm going to go through really quickly are going to be the locomotives and the cars. Before I hit those up, though, I do have a lot of people to thank. So watch this video. We'll come right back. We'll talk about locomotives. We'll talk about cars. And then we'll look at routes and whatever. But we'll go through this stuff quickly, and we'll come back and maybe do some more later.
It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity.
We'll address this one first, and then we'll get to the other one. I hope you're saying you didn't... I don't know if you're saying you fell asleep because of my explanation of JMRI, or if you fell asleep because of something else. This one. So you have your arrival departure tracks in the program. I thought those tracks wouldn't exist. Yes. Most people, I don't know if that's true. Other people that I've talked to do not put their arrival departure tracks in JMRI. The reason I'm putting them in is because I want JMRI to tell people to... I want JMRI to tell the road crew to drop the train at the yard and pick up the other train that's leaving and take it and go. I could potentially skip that step, but what it allows me to do, what it enables me to do, is I can then set a route that is arrival track into the yard and yard into the departure track. So I'll have a route that is staging to yard to staging, and then I'll have a route that is yard to yard within the yards. And the only way to really set that route up would be to have the arrival departure tracks be classification interchange. I don't know if it's going to work. This is a little bit of the part that I'm trying to... it's one of the part I'm trying to figure that out. I need to play with it a little more. I need to start operating and seeing how things move. But that's the goal. You can create a route where you do a locomotive change, but I can't create a route where you do a locomotive change and then the original locomotive picks up a different cut of cars. If I was going to take the staging, if I was going to take the train out of staging, bring it in there, have the locomotive wait in the engine yard while the switchers were building the departure train to then take the departure train out, then I could do it. If I'm just going to come in and take a departure train out, then I need that departure train built before my other train leaves staging. So I can't wait for the yard to switch the train because JMRI won't won't do it. I don't think so. Yes and no. There may be multiple levels of stuff. Like when the staging train gets to there, I will have to terminate the staging train, hit build again to get the next set of orders to then move stuff around. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I'm not sure. I don't know. Locomotives. So I've got only a couple locomotives out here. You can see some of the switchers are in the Croton Harmon yard. This locomotive is over in the yard. Basically, you go to set and you just location and track. So this is the location. This is the track. You just drop them in there. You save that. Same thing with cars. I've got 56 cars in here. All of my cars right now are box cars. 40 footers, 36 footers, 50 footers, 52 footers, and I've got them all in locations. If you notice, right now they don't have any destinations, they don't have any trains. So we've got none of that in here so far. Yes, maybe. Yes, so to run a route, you have to build a train, correct. So I have not built all my routes yet. But what we're going to do is I will show you what I've got so far, which is almost nothing. So first thing you do is you build your routes. So the only routes I have, because I've just been playing with this stuff, I don't know what I'm doing. I know I keep saying that, but I really don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, that's where I was going, Dennis. Once I build the train, we can go back and it'll show that stuff. So I built a couple of routes. Staging yard, Croton Harmon yard to Human City Junction yard. I have Croton Harmon yard to the Riverside Terminal. And then I have the Human City Junction yard to Manhattanville, which is one of the industries. Max train length is 480. If you remember that 480, that's the number that we determined over here, the 480. That is going to be my maximum train length, so that matches there. If we go into one of these routes, I know I'm going through this quickly, I don't quite know what to set this at, and I don't quite know what to set the random at. I've been changing them around. I get errors, I change them back. I don't exactly understand it. Croton Harmon Yard, pick up, no set outs. It goes to Human City Junction, it will pick up and set out. When it goes back to Croton Harmon Yard, it'll just set out. So we're creating a little jump here where it'll take cars from Croton Harmon Yard, drop them at Human City Junction, pick up other cars, bring them back to Croton. Same thing with Riverside Terminal, essentially. Human Century Yard, blah, blah, blah. See, here's what keeps happening though. If I set that at 10, I get errors. And I don't really understand why. It's kind of like it goes through and it says, okay, can I put this car somewhere? No. Next step. Can I put this car somewhere? No. Okay, next step. So that's already burned 2 moves. So as it goes through it, it seems to like burn. I'll show you. So I've got these 3 routes. When I go here now to the trains, now you're telling a train what route it's going to do. Yeah, so, okay, so I've got 3 trains right now, each train running a single route. Eventually I will add more trains that'll have, different times they leave and stuff so that I can have, all the trains come in, do whatever, and then have another set of things happen. But you hit build. I'm sure like everybody's completely lost. This is like the lowest amount of people that have watched one of my videos in a long time. I could tell I completely lost everybody. But yeah, Otter Creek, I'm curious. Every time I set it lower and lower and lower, things get messed up. Tim, at least somebody's still here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit build. So when I hit build, you'll notice, maybe you can see it, and this is kind of for Dennis. You'll notice it says 44 cars, 120 cars, and 40 cars. If I had that set at 10, that wouldn't work. For whatever reason, it would throw an error. I don't quite understand why. I don't understand why to go from the yard to why it says 120 cars. I don't understand that. But I think this is fun. So let's look at the preview first. So this is my manifest for my train from my staging over to my Riverside Transfer terminal. Scheduled work from Croton Harmon Yard, it says to pick up. And this is picking up all of this stuff that is on track 4. Open the route window. Here's the route window. It's still open. Status train built. So I pick up the 8 cars that are 430 feet long, 120 tons. UP 1111, the Powered by the People locomotive, is pulling all these boxcars. Now, the reason I think it's not picking, something's not right, because all it's doing right now is it's taking all these cars and it's dropping. Oh, right, because there's nothing to pick up. Right. I've got nothing in the terminal right now, so there's nothing to pick up. So all these cars go to the freight terminal. All of the cars get dropped off. You can see 2 cars go to track 1, 2 cars go to track 2, 4 cars go to track 3. So now the train departs the freight terminal with 0 cars, only the length of the locomotive. Oh, it does say 78 feet for an SD70 Ace. I may have gotten it wrong. It goes back to the yard and whatever. This is fun if you have time to read through this. It's 6 pages. So yes, if you have Railcom or something like that on your layout, a lot of this can all be automated. You can get RFID readers. You can put an RFID reader in every car, so when a car pulls out of my staging, it'll know which car is on my train, and it'll verify that everything is as it should be. This 6-page document is essentially what it went through to build this train. So like one of the things it shows is, staging track is already assigned to train this. Staging track cannot service train. It has blah, blah, blah. And it kind of breaks it down. Let's look at this one real quick. So this one that's going to the yard, you can see now, this is doing exactly what I want it to do. Although it's not, I don't have it set up yet to pick up from the departure track. I still need to set that part up. But if you notice, the train comes from Croton Harmon Yard off of track 3. Track 3 has 7 cars, 386 feet. It's led by the 1943 SD70 Ace. It goes to Human City Junction Yard. It drops off all... How does it drop off 8 cars when it only brought... Oh, sorry. It's picking up these cars and it's dropping off these cars. So it's dropping off the GN blah, 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 blah. it's telling you where to drop them off, and it's kind of just all over the place because I don't have it set up. But you're dropping off these cars, you're picking up these cars. Then you are taking these cars, you're departing northbound with 8 cars, 446 feet, and it's telling you to drop those cars into Croton Yard number 1. So does everyone understand? Is that 100% clear? Are there any questions whatsoever? Because I know that this is very simple to understand. I'm still working it out. I haven't set any loads yet, so cars don't know, like the Domino Sugar car doesn't know that it can only go to Domino Sugar. I've got a car over here that is something packing or whatever, and that will only go to the packing plant, let's say. So, I haven't set up the specific moves yet, but I've kind of got, I've got a little bit of the basic structure. So far, this is the basic structure of how my railroad is going to operate. So I don't know if Otter Creek is saying he doesn't understand or if he's saying he doesn't have any questions. I would love, Dennis, sometime to try and talk to you, talk through this stuff. I love Jason the Train Freak and I talked about some ideas. Steve Childers and I talked about some ideas. Cameron Caboose 121 and I talked about some ideas. Split Rock and I talked about some ideas. Roy Eltham and I talked about some ideas. I'm trying to get as much information about how other people are doing it so that I can have my stuff run a little bit smoother. So Lynn's confused, Les is confused. Remember, the more selective you make the program, the higher probability of a build fail. Yes, I prefer to have 1 or 2 things cause a build fail, not 35. I had a bunch of build fails for a little while for various reasons. One of the reasons was the random. If you set the random at 0, it limits the choices it can make. If you set the random at 100, sometimes it'll just zero out a train and not do anything. So you do kind of have to play with it. The number of moves, the 40, I'm still playing with it. When I set it at 10, I get, so here, let's just for fun, let's change this one. We'll change the moves here to 10. So 10, 10, and 10, and we'll save that route. And now we'll go back here and we'll build this. Oh, and of course it worked that time. Because why not? Why doesn't it work when I want it to? Rayron VR, the Ice Dragon, $100 super chat. Thank you so much. So much. Cheers, Merry Christmas. What did it say? Get something you need on me. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so far, everything I showed tonight is my version of Keep It Simple. I'm still gonna, oh, this is awesome too. Gifted memberships. I love gifted memberships. That's awesome. Oh, it's so good to see. I see Tim CP368, Siegfried, Leopold, Dwight Curley, Ron Moen, John Train BFGR, Chazco, Glenn G, Steve 87, PSAP, Adam Cruz, the Hyde Plains Drifter, Dan's Model, Railroading Journey, Shane's Trains, Conrail, Lock 12, Crooked River and Eastern, Southern Yankees Trains, Adam Cruz, Cascade Model Trains. Yeah, everyone is green now that picked up a membership thanks to Rayron. Just a bit of spam. It's all good. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. So I'll update my video for next week, my thank you video. Now we'll have Now we'll have some more names. I love that. I love it when there's lots of names on there. That's really great. Ask any questions you want. I'm gonna head over to Discord in a little bit. I'm also probably gonna watch the second section podcast in the back. Those guys, this is their 1-year anniversary of their podcast. So I'm gonna do that. Incredible, Derek. Couldn't agree more. That was awesome. You'll see a lot more to come. I don't know how many more of these JMRI streams I'll do, but I see things getting a little more complicated. And if people want to talk through it, come to Discord or, come find me. Come find me. I'm around. From the city that never sleeps, farewell, model citizens.
It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all